Hi, everybody. It's Chris Grimm, and it is Wednesday, August 23rd, and this is Deep Work Fast. And we've had a lot of weird tech issues just in the last 2 minutes, so I hope this works. Thank you to everybody who's live with me, and thank you to everyone who watched this as a replay. Today, I want to talk about some fairly basic things. Sometimes I introduce new concepts and push you to take those concepts and put them to work for yourself at work and home. Today, I'm going to do the same thing, but when I say a basic concept, I want to talk to you about those moments where maybe you are overwhelmed, anxious, overworked, distracted, moving too fast. Our number one post on social media is about this topic, and it has been for months. Can't seem to get more likes and shares than on this topic. Hi, Jason Lucero. Thanks for the flames. So I want to ground us, and that's actually what I want to talk about, this concept that for some people is new. For other people, it is not a new concept. I did post a blog. The link is in the chat. Thank you, Heather. Mission Control, for posting our blog. I'm also going to ask Heather to post 2 other articles for you to check out when you have a little bit of time. It'll take minutes. One is around what the hybrid and video conferencing technology that we use now on a pretty normal basis, whether it's on a phone or on a desktop, how that impacts our body. So I would love for you, if you haven't read on that, to just understand it. I don't see it as like good or bad. I see it as the new norm. And so you should know what it does, how it impacts you, how it might be affecting you when you're already stressed about something, or when you're in a situation where, like I said, you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, overworked. And it seems, based on all the people I coach, and remember, I coach people individually, but I also coach teams and work with a lot of heads of human resources and C-level leaders. So I get a lot of input all the time about the people and how the people are working together. And so you may be having some of these experiences, maybe all the time, maybe some of the time. And I want to help you feel more settled, more in control and focused and actually effective all the time, but specifically the moments in time where your brain starts to, because maybe of the stress load that you have at a certain point, your brain is so worried about what's coming next that you can't stay focused in the now moment, right? Like you get to the meeting that you've just prepared for, and in the middle of that meeting, you start worried about the next one. And that's seemingly a theme now, more than I've ever experienced it. And I've been coaching people for 27 years. And so as these themes started to kind of new ways I was experiencing people were happening, of course, during the pandemic, we all had that. But then post, as I start to see new themes, right, more than one person saying certain things or experiencing certain things, oftentimes what I do is tap my colleagues in the mental health world to see how they're experiencing it, because oftentimes coaching and therapy are similar. They're not the same, by the way, and they can't take the place of one another. And another day I can talk about that. But what is the same is that it's a one-on-one experience, oftentimes fairly intimate, right? So hopefully people come into both of those environments and they're honest, super authentic, oftentimes take their guard down and are vulnerable. So we get to hear the truth of what they're feeling, not maybe the way they're kind of faking it to make it all day, every day, whether that's on Zoom or in person. We get the real version, and that's wonderful. It's a privilege to have that, but it also helps us experience and collect data around how well people are coping with the pace in which we're all working, that kind of seemingly endless supply of distractions and input that we're getting, whether we're seeking data or clicking on TikTok and watching videos or whatever we're doing, or going through email, right? That's another example. Or things are getting pushed to us through notifications, etc. I'm sure you're all familiar with all the ways in your own life that you and your body are experiencing input, output, and the pace that that is going. And so I want to talk about this concept. If you haven't heard of what it means to ground yourself, In popular culture, it has basically two meanings. The most ancient of the ways of thinking about grounding is to go into nature or find a way to leave the artificial environments that we all tend to kind of live and work in. When I say artificial environments, I mean like air condition instead of going out and just having air, clean air in nature. Also, artificial lighting versus sunlight. And of course, technology, because we're interacting with all of these devices and things that do emit signals and frequencies, and in some cases, appliances and things that bring radiation to us, right? That is not the same as being out in nature where you are in clean air, or at least as clean as you can get it where you are, unfiltered light. And so grounding is connecting with the earth in a way that you get back to the natural frequency, without all these fake frequencies and fake inputs. So when I say that's one of the more ancient ways, is that there are many belief systems, cultures, etc., that will tell you that the best way for you to reset your body is to have bare feet, or your body next to the ground or next to trees, or experiencing, like I said, all that nature. So that is one way of thinking about grounding. I want to talk to you about something that might feel a little bit more practical, if you can't go outside. So I would love for you to go outside, by the way, if you can, during the day. Take a walk at least. You don't have to be barefoot unless you want to, but get out of the artificial at least once or twice during the day, if not more. And I know people actually who sometimes have meetings outside, and it's lovely, and it does make a difference to how the people feel and whether they can kind of leave those distractions, and actually their body can start to reset around a natural flow instead of an artificial or contrived flow. So the other way I want to teach you to ground is to at least get into the now moment, instead of, when you are in those situations like I described, allowing your brain to do one of two things that it often does when it's over functioning and can't focus on what is happening right this second. Now think about that. If you are bored in a meeting, in a movie, at dinner, whatever, if you're bored, chances are your brain starts to think about something in the past, or it starts to future trip about something in the future. Now, sometimes that is highly useful, right? I've been sitting in line waiting at the DMV. And so if I don't want to just stand there waiting in line at the DMV, experiencing all the fabulous people in and around me and smells and looks and feels, what do? I go on my phone and I make a to-do list, or I start to like try to be productive and try to feel things. Or, like I said, my brain is naturally going to find something to do. And often it is something from the past or something that's going to happen in the future. Now, while sometimes that is useful, when you want to be in control, focused, and efficient, so in the meetings and conversations that matter, right? You need to be calm and clear-headed. You need to be paying attention. You need to be listening to the other person or the people, because you are expected to take something away from that and either behave differently or be productive, right? Do something work-wise with yourself and your team. And so because I have the luxury of facilitating meetings, and I mean that, y'all, it's a privilege, but I also get to witness people daydreaming, fidgeting, working on other things, right? Leaving the meeting in their brain, their physical body is sitting there. But because they've got all these other things to do, at a certain point in time, they disengage from the now moment. They stop completely focusing and not really listening to whoever's talking or the conversation that's going on. And their brain starts to do something different. Oftentimes that is moving on, right? Thinking about the next meeting, thinking about the next thing. And while that might feel productive to you, it is actually not you at your best. And so I would like you to think about, and then actually, you don't have to think too much about it. You can take on some of these very practical grounding methods that I teach people all the time. And it immediately does help people settle down, focus more, and be more effective. I promise. Even people who I think for their whole lives have had ADD or they're over caffeinated, or like I said, they're super stressed out. But they tell me they want to be better. I'm like, great, can we just start doing these things? So let's just talk about what they are. The easiest thing you can do without having to have anything new with you is to grab your chair. I am not kidding. So if you start to wander and you're in a meeting, whether it's a one-on-one meeting on Zoom or in person or with a group of people, doesn't matter. It could be your town hall, can be a family dinner, can be any time that you need to come back here, all of you, into this moment. A great way to do that is when you find yourself floating somewhere in the past or the future or wanting not to be in the moment, is to ground yourself by grabbing your chair. Oftentimes, even if you're eating with this hand or writing with one of your hands, the other hand is free. And when I say grab your chair, all I'm saying is that you actually touch the part that you're sitting on. I'm going to do that right now. And by gripping the bottom of your chair or whatever part, even the arm, whatever you can get a hold of, that actually, just by squeezing your hand on the chair and having that tactile experience, grounds you back in your body and brings you back in this now moment. So that is an easy, free one. Anybody can do it. Try it right now if you'd like. In fact, I would like you to. So grab that chair and see what it feels like. Just note what happens when you do that. It is very, very difficult to stay in la la land or worried about something in the future when you are physically grounding. So that reminds me. So if you don't want to grab your chair, another thing that you could do, and I love this technique. I teach it to people all the time, and I specifically teach it to people who are hotheads. So if that's you, in other words, you tend to escalate, you get angry at things and hijacked by that anger. So along with the overwhelm, anxiousness, maybe overworked, distracted and thinking about stuff. Here's a great technique. So I don't even know what the name of this is. I've been doing it for so long, but it's really easy. So you clench your fists really, really tight and tense up. You can just do that for a few seconds. I want you to do it right now so you can feel what I'm saying. Like for me, I have nails, so my nails are actually like going right into my hand. That tangible, intentional clenching and tensing up brings you back. Now let it go. Feel the relief of that. I want you to try again. Tighten that up. See, even my face tenses up. Like I tend to when I'm tense. Sometimes I even kind of bite my jaw really hard. There's a lot of people who do that in their sleep, by the way. If you're one of those people, here is a way that you can start to not do that anymore. It's to take on a practice of tensing up on purpose, intentionally, just for a few seconds, and then releasing it. I teach people to do this. Like if you're going from meeting to meeting, like you're a salesperson or you're a person who goes and meets people for lunch or goes to your client's office, when you get in the car, to ground yourself so that your drive to wherever you're going is more in the present moment, so you're not completely all over the place and on autopilot or stressed out, is to do that. You sit in the chair, you feel the chair, you put your seatbelt on, and then you clench your fist really hard one time and release it and feel that release. As you start to feel that relaxing in your body, like I said, it brings you back into your body. That is grounding. The last thing I want you to try, which means you could have another prop, right? So I'm going to show you here. Some people are going to think I'm nuts. This is literally not a box of rocks. It's a bowl of rocks and crystals that I have right here under the little elevated table where my computer sits in my home office. When I had a real office, I had some of the same things there. The reason I have rocks is because it's the next best thing to going outside and touching a rock or a tree or the ground, is that I have these. And I know some people like fidget toys, and I want to talk about that because in our meetings, sometimes I bring fidget toys. If you don't know what those are, There's actually toys you can buy, like in places like Amazon, that are for fidgeting. So that if people need to play with something, instead of grabbing their phone, think about that. So a lot of people are on their phones all the time because it's actually like a fidget toy for them, right? They get on there and they play with I've done it myself. When we're bored, when we're distracted, when we're stressed, we like mess with stuff and we have that energy and we need to put that energy somewhere. So in meetings, I don't want people on their devices sometimes. I don't want them grabbing their phone when they want to disconnect from the conversation that we're having or whatever activity we're doing. I need you to stay in the moment. So we give people fidget toys. Sometimes those are those stress balls. Or like I said, other toys or things like people might keep on their desk so that they can grab it and play with it and think better. And by the way, if you are doing a creative activity, you need to problem solve. You need to focus an active amount of energy into something so that you can resolve a problem or you can create something new. Fidget toys and toys in general or stress balls are really, really good for that. But it's kinetic and it is tactical. And tactile, excuse me. What I'm talking about in grounding is something different. And so I want to come back to my little bowl of rocks here and tell you why they're different, right? So the fidget toys are fidgety and there's activity with it. You could actually describe it. And sometimes there's a process, which is appropriate. My little box of rocks and crystals is a little bit different. It's back to that grounding. So this is really hard. It's a rock. Hello. And no, I haven't broken any windows yet, but I've thought about it. Back to here. So if you get distracted and you are feeling like you need to be grounded, like I said to you earlier, you could grab your chair. That's a really hard thing that kind of grounds you in your body. This can do the same thing if you allow it to do so. Now, I have clients, you might be one of those people, who have taken this on as a practice and they carry a rock, a crystal, a thing. They could find the rock on the side of the road one day when they're walking their dog and they carry it around in their pocket, or they start to have it as something that they carry with them because it becomes their partner in being in the now moment. Now, you might think this is silly, but I promise you, if you want to be more focused and more effective and more in control of yourself in the moments that matter, something's got to help you stay there. Because if you leave it to the other people or whatever the conversation is going to happen, most likely your default is going to be emotionally and energetically flowing with the conversations that are in and out of those meetings. And the problem, of course, you and I both know, is that most of our meetings now for work are either super action oriented with lots of urgency and pressure to do more, maybe more with less, maybe more faster and better. You might have lots of people with lots of inputs, some of which you might not agree with. And all of those dynamics are going to lead to more thinking about the past, more worry about the future. That is not the grounded version of you. And so that is not the most effective, calm, and clear-headed version of you. Chances are all of those dynamics are going to lead you into more anxiousness, more stress. And so you have to take on practices. And maybe you say, I never had to do that before. Well, guess what? We're not in the same world we were in before, friends. Everything has changed. So I'm going to urge you to check out our blog. It's like a 2-minute read. It is on this topic. It will help you with some of these ideas. I put 2 other articles in the chat, and thank you for Heather for doing that. One is from the Chopra Foundation, Deepak Chopra, Dr. Deepak Chopra, talking about the healing powers of what's called earthing, or like I said, originally around the ancient practice of grounding, same thing, connecting to the earth. I put another article there for you around the neuroscience, around what is happening to us and why we're all extra exhausted and depleted and sometimes anxious from lots of video conferencing. So thank you for the people who are with me today. Thank you for everybody who's commenting in the chat on both Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I can't see that one actually. But I appreciate all of you. I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you next week for Deep Work Fast. Okay, check out those articles in that blog and get yourself a rock or something. Okay.